Salutations, this is Custom Edition Map Showcase, where I show off a single level or a group of levels that are significant to Halo Custom Edition. If you have suggestions on maps that I should go over on the show, leave your ideas in the comments below and they may have a chance to appear in upcoming episodes. This week, I'll be going over what could be one of the best firefight maps Custom Edition has ever seen. Welcome to Sector 09. Sector 09 was made by Nixter 5000 and is a level that requires a third-party open source program to boot the level up. Sector 09 starts off with giving the player a choice of 5 different loadouts to choose from. I'll be going over which of the loadouts I feel are the most viable out of the 5 after I've gone over each of the weapons. Once you have selected your loadout, you'll soon notice how extremely dark the level is. Luckily, you have access to ODST's visor mode that will illuminate the entire level. I wouldn't recommend turning off visor mode at any point when you're walking outside of the spawn area due to how extremely difficult it can be to acquire targets without it. The level begins with a Covenant cruiser ominously flying by, heralding the start of your eternal struggle on this map. You begin the firefight session with 7 lives. You'll be able to tell which wave you're on by a numerical counter on the bottom left corner of the screen. There are various weapon pickups scattered throughout the map as well as health packs. Notable power weapons include a shotgun near the center of the map, a sniper rifle on the bridge towards the opposite end of the level, and finally the rocket launcher all the way in the back. After every 5th wave is complete, you'll gain an extra life, and weapons and health pickups that have been previously picked up will respawn. Sector 09 uses a combination of Halo 3 ODST and older CMT tags all across the board. This includes the weapons, vehicles, the characters, and the enemies. To kick off our overview of the weapons, we'll be going over the weapons available in the loadouts, going top to bottom according to the loadout selection screen. The battle rifle is, in my opinion, extremely overpowered. It has the capacity to kill a minor elite in 3 bursts, and potentially kill a minor brute in just 2. It has a high amount of damage output and has a stupidly fast fire rate between bursts. I'd go so far to say that it's way too good. While it's extremely powerful, almost to the point that I'd say it's completely busted, it's balanced out by its low ammo count and the fact that the ammo cannot be replenished due to it not being found anywhere on the level, but the only way to acquire more VR ammo is respawning. The secondary weapon offered in the first loadout is the SMG. Not much to really say about this weapon in all honesty. It does what you expect it to do, unloading a ton of ammunition extremely fast and being deadly in close range engagements. Just your classic bullet hose. Moving on down to the second loadout features our ODST weapons. Our first one is the famous suppressed SMG, which is arguably the best automatic weapon featured in this level. It functions precisely like its main series counterpart, shooting the same way as the standard SMG, only much quieter and more accurately at a distance. It also features a magnification scope which doesn't appear to be finished, unfortunately. I'm also pretty sure that it's slightly stronger than the standard SMG, but it could just be confusing with its higher accuracy. While it is more accurate than the regular SMG, this is definitely a weapon that you'd want to burst fire when engaging targets at further distances than close range due to its relatively high amount of recoil. Unlike the battle rifle, there's plenty of ammo located around the map for this weapon, making the suppressed SMG easily one of the most reliable weapons to fall back on when trying to survive in Sector 09. Our second ODST weapon is the suppressed M16 Magnum. Like the suppressed SMG, it functions precisely like its Halo 3 ODST brother. It's a fast-firing headshot weapon that can drop many grunts, jaggals, and shieldless elites in a quick succession. It doesn't fare against shields as well as the SMG, taking almost 2 magazines worth of ammo to drop a minor elite shield, so stick to unshielded targets when using this weapon. Also like the SMG, there's a substantial amount of ammunition for this weapon scattered throughout the level, mainly near your spawn like the SMGs. The assault rifle is our next weapon. It functions exactly like its Halo Combat Evolved counterpart where it has a 60 round magazine and performs well at close range. Again, not really much to say on this weapon as anyone who has played Custom Edition most likely already knows how this weapon works. However, this particular AR's inclusion is where I start to have problems with some of the weapon balance in this level. For starters, I feel the standard SMG and the assault rifle feel the exact same role as one another. A fully automatic weapon with 60 rounds and a magazine with an effective close combat distance. Having both of these on the map just feels redundant and unnecessary. I don't know if it's just me, but I also feel the AR is slightly weaker and less accurate than the SMG as well, as I oftentimes feel like I'm doing better with the SMG than I ever do with the AR. Our next weapon is the F6d Pistol, and it's still its usual broken self, although it's not as borked as this level's battle rifle. Everything about this weapon is essentially the same as its Combat Evolved counterpart, just like this level's assault rifle, and knowing that, anyone who's played or seen the first Halo game will understand how this weapon works. There's one thing to mention. In the loadout screen, the second and third loadouts have a Magnum quote-unquote as a secondary weapon, but each of these 2 loadouts' Magnums are different, with the second loadout having the suppressed Magnum and the third having the M6d. I feel some clarification should be added into these 2 loadouts to help distinguish them from one another. Our next loadout weapon is the shotgun. It has a humongous amount of stopping power up close, capable of one-shotting a wide variety of targets at point-blank range. While you're in a pickle with a lot of enemies surrounding your spawn, I highly recommend going to this loadout as it just sweeps through enemies like they're nothing. Other than that, it's a shotgun everyone knows and loves. Lastly in the loadouts is what is perhaps the worst weapon in Sector 09. Guys, I tried using the DMR, okay? It's just so hilariously outclassed by just about everything in the level. Even the suppressed SMG kills faster at medium range than this thing. It performs horribly at close quarters with its low rate of fire and laughable damage output, and its spread when you try to fire this thing in a rapid succession is unacceptably wide. To top it all off, there's no ammo for it anywhere on the map. This DMR is in a desperate need of several buffs if it wants to stay competitive, especially on higher difficulty settings. Out of the 5 loadouts that I recommend rolling with, I definitely roll with the battle rifle loadout to start off with. The BR is easily the best weapon in level, and it's not like the standard SMG is unusable by any means either. Right after that, the suppressed SMG and suppressed Magnum loadout is easily the most viable duo of weapons to have due to how well they work together and how common ammunition is on the map for both weapons. It's possible to acquire Covenant weapons, although they immediately disappear when the enemy is killed most of the time. However, if you're lucky enough to see the weapons drop, you'll have access to more ammunition when human weapon ammunition starts to dwindle. I'd advise you to stay away from the brute shot though. Maybe I'm just not good with it, but from my experience with it so far, I'm just not a fan. It acts like a combination of the Halo 2 and 3 brute shots, and where it has 6 grenades, but the projectiles will bounce off objects, sometimes from relatively far away too. I recommend that the map author simply removes the bouncing projectile mechanic from the brute shot and simply have it behave like its Halo 3 counterpart. In terms of Covenant enemies, you have your standard grunts, jackals, and elites, with brutes showing up in the mix as well as hunters that serve as bosses. Occasionally, ghosts will show up in the fight as well, and with enough infantry backing it up, it can be overwhelming to deal with all that incoming plasma fire. However, it doesn't really take much to take the ghosts down. One grenade and a few bullets will often do the trick. If you're lucky enough, you can kill the drivers out of their ghosts and use them yourself, but I wouldn't bother using them. You lose your ability to use visor mode, the plasma shots are noticeably weak and the controls are rather clunky. You're better off just destroying them honestly. Wraiths will also appear at times, and if you aren't paying attention to them, it will be your downfall. The inclusion of the Wraith will test your multitasking skills for sure, as you'll have to deal with infantry as well as the Wraith's plasma mortars. My advice is to leave one enemy alive, run all the way behind the Wraith, grab the rocket launcher, and destroy the Wraith in 2 shots before the next wave begins. Brutes are fairly easy to kill. Miners dive to 3 suppressed Magnum headshots, while Brute Captains easily lose their armor to the suppressed SMG to the point where it takes a single headshot to bring them down. Chieftains are the hardest out of the bunch. They have an energy shield and are armed with a Hunter arm cannon, and will take a lot of punishment before going down. Hunters can be troublesome when they're combined with a ton of other infantry units, but, well... Elites are definitely the enemies you need to watch out for. Given how visor mode envelops all the enemies in red outlining, it's near impossible to distinguish elite ranks from one another just by looking at them. The only way to tell if an elite is of a higher rank is by how well they take the damage when you have the visor mode on. There will be waves where a bunch of elites will be using needlers, and that could be overwhelming if you're in an exposed area. Stay at a reasonable distance and in cover and you should be okay. If there's any elite variant in this level that's the most dangerous, they're the stealth elites. They do not show up in visor mode or even in radar, and they will sucker punch you if you're not aware of your surroundings, especially if it's a sword elite. Speaking of sword elites, prioritize killing these threats as soon as possible. Unless it's a stealth elite, they have the highest amount of shield strength and will take forever to kill due to a lack of plasma weaponry unless you're lucky enough to pick one up if it doesn't already disappear. One swing from the sword will end your life. I'm not sure if this holds true to any difficulty lower than heroic, but watch out regardless. One thing that I'd like to mention about the AI in this level is their intellect. They're really good at flanking you in multiple directions, even going so far as to force you to fall back in a direction where other AI await you, overwhelming you immediately. It's always good to watch your back here, or you'll perish for sure. When you finally run out of lives, you'll be met with an ending screen that'll give you a ranking based on how many ways you have managed to complete. And that's it for this week. Make sure to leave map suggestions in the comments so I can decide what to go over in the next episode. If and only if you enjoyed what you saw today, leave a like on the video and subscribe for more custom edition map showcases and many other forms of Halo content on this channel. This is the Vengeful Vadam, and I'll see you on a great journey.